a southern district in Texas. His name's Tony Gonzalez. Had an affair with his staffer. She burned herself alive and killed herself a few months ago. And so for a lot of people, this story is this is too far. This guy's terrible. He needs to step down. He needs to drop out of the race. Well, let's go ahead and roll through it with some detail here. Because he was on Joe Pags, and if you were listening to WBAP 24 hours a day like you're supposed to, you would have heard it already. But I know most of you didn't. So we're gonna walk through some of the details because this might change your mind a little bit. You hadn't heard all the details, and I know it because I hadn't heard all the details, and because I don't think he's told them publicly until yesterday, and you heard it here. So first, Tony Gonzalez, up to this point, hasn't even admitted to an affair. He hasn't really even responded. And so this is the first time, last night was the first time he actually came out and spoke about it and admitted it. And he gave kind of a standard response.
Very, very direct, Pags. I made a mistake, and I had a lapse in judgment, and there was a lack of faith. And I take full responsibility for those actions. Since then, I've reconciled with my wife, Angel. I've asked God to forgive me, which he has. And my faith is as strong as ever. When you make mistakes like this, it's never easy. It humbles you, but it's important to kind of work through it all. I look forward to the ethics committee starting an investigation. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to provide all the facts and all the details that lead to exactly what occurred in the entire situation.
All right, now let's start walking up this hill. You and I both know that an affair is not a disqualifying factor for public office. My God, I think most of the people in public office have had an affair. If you just want to look up the chain here, Ken Paxton's had an affair. Newt Gingrich had an affair. Bill Clinton had an affair. Donald Trump had an affair. Pete Hegseth had an affair. So no, it's not a disqualifying factor. And you and I have noticed that men with very big appetites for power also have very big appetites for other things quite often. The problem that anyone really has with this is twofold. Number one, that she ended up killing herself. Did he have anything to do with that? And number two, the legal problems he's having right now is because she was a subordinate. And there's actually rules in the House of Representatives that they had to institute not that long ago saying you can't have an affair with someone on your staff. That's actually out of bounds. There's the weird power dynamic struggle there that makes it sort of a not fair, almost abusive situation. And so he addresses that. But Joe Pags, that was the second question he asked. He's like, all right, do you admit the affair? Yes. Okay, what about the problem of it being a subordinate?
It's an important issue. No, it's important. It's a serious issue that we have to talk about, that we have to get all the facts and all the details out there. And once again, I take responsibility for my actions. It's also important to know all the details and all the facts, and that's what the investigation is going to take place. So far, what you've seen is certain outlets only sharing certain information that is beneficial to them. And to be frank, Joe, this is Pags. This has been from day one. This has been about power and money. And while others saw this kind of unfold, the opening of early voting, and you've seen that, and this has been, they've been attacking me for months on this. But yes, it is important that we have the conversation on, workplace environment and making sure that that certain things do not take place.
Okay, so we have some texts, and the text didn't come from an investigation. They didn't come directly from the cops. They came from the husband, the now widowed husband, who wanted to put the affair on blast. And so then Pags asks if the texts are real. And this answer is really super long because he doesn't actually answer if the texts are real, which kind of lets you know they are real. But I might have to skip ahead to the stuff at the end.
I'll let the investigation play out and share all the different details on it. I will say there's a whole lot more to the story, that isn't out there. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you a little bit of what's kind of on my mind. Okay. Is when Miss Santos passed away, it was a shock to everyone. Some of the reports are saying that she was not thriving at work. It's exact opposite. She was thriving at work. She had just delivered the state of Congress to one of our counties, address to one of our counties. She had just helped get funding for water resiliency in Uvalde and over $10 million for school safety in Uvalde. So she was thriving in everything. So when this happened on a Sunday. I got the call on a Sunday that she was in the hospital. Sunday morning, I found out an hour later that she had passed.
Right.
It was a shock to everyone. But this is the part of the story where it starts about money. Okay. Within hours, her estranged husband reached out to our office and asked about her death benefits and how he could gain access to her retirement fund. This woman had just had a horrific
That was
tragedy.
the same day?
Within hours, the next day, he reaches out. It was eerie, it was creepy, but that was the beginning of this. Was about money. And then fast forward a few months. I'm not going to share everything, but I want to share some details with your audience. A few months later, his criminal defense attorney, which I also thought was weird, not a civil offense attorney, his criminal defense attorney reaches out and essentially asks me for money or else.
So that's a little suspicious right there, but it doesn't mean that Tony Gonzalez would be a good congressman or a bad congressman. It just means there's more to the story that you and I haven't heard. Now, when we come back, there's two more clips that I'm going to play from Tony Gonzalez's interview with Joe Pags last night. Joe Pags knocked it out of the park. And it's going to reset the timeline. Does it matter if the breakup and the suicide happen more than a year apart? How come they're not adding that into the reporting? Because that would kind of put enough distance to where you would think they're not connected anymore. But all the reporting makes it sound like she basically killed herself because of the affair and her life blew up. And also, would it affect your opinion on this case if you found out the husband's gay? 800-288-9227. You got two great sound bites coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Yeah, Texas politics is messy. Usually not this messy. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. So, Tony Gonzalez is a guy that's made headlines for having an affair, and it's not even the affair, it's the fact that she killed herself, and the thing that really catches the attention of the general public is the manner in which she did it. She self-immolated. What a terrible way to go. You're going to set yourself on fire, you're going to douse yourself with an accelerant of some sort, light it, and then not immediately die. You're going to suffer for the next few hours while your body slowly shuts down and succumbs to your injuries. That's terrible. So, no, this isn't just the average congressional affair, but the couple of hurdles in this is, number one, she's a subordinate. She's a staffer. And so that adds to the air of, unethical behavior. Yeah, you have an affair. That's unethical. We got it, but we're used to it. We don't expect a whole lot out of our politicians or, our football players or our business owners or whoever else. So, but the subordinate thing is odd. Rubs a lot of people the wrong way. But we're also learning some new details in the fact that the husband immediately turned around and was asking for money and was trying to shake him down, give me $300,000. So I'm going to go public with this. But there were two other pieces of information that you learned from the Joe Pags interview last night that you could have heard on WBAP if you had the radio on. I'm just throwing it out there. We're just breaking national news. No big deal. But the timeline changes. Does it matter if these things happened, the breakup of the affair and the suicide, more than a year apart?
He asked for $300,000. The thing, Pags, is I don't have $300,000. And if I did have $300,000, I'm not going to give it to somebody who's trying to shake me down. Yeah. So this was always about money. Fast forward again. Now you add politics into it, right? All this thing was relayed, at the beginning of early voting. So this was all coordinated. It was intentional. Once again, I take responsibility for my actions. I look forward to, I appreciate the opportunity to share all the details and all the facts with it. But, these are some of the things that no one else had heard before. The facts are I hadn't spoken with Ms. Santos since June of 2024. She passed September of 2025. That was over a year ago. So this is what I think is important as well, is this whole notion that I had anything to do with her death. I had absolutely nothing to do with her tragic passing. And in fact, I was shocked just as much as everyone else was.
That does kind of change it for me. Yes, it's unethical that he had the affair. Yeah, it's wrong that it was a subordinate. But the way it had been reported, as if these things happened back to back, or they even overlapped in the Venn diagram of time, makes it sound like they were connected. Makes it sound like, well, she was having an affair and then she got busted and now her life was wrecked. And I was kind of thinking that too. I was guilty of that. I was thinking, well, man, if you have an affair and you're a congressional staffer, your husband probably not going to be very happy with you. Your kids are going to think you're a floozy. You're probably never going to work in politics again because you have that stain on you. I mean, look at what's Monica Lewinsky's career now, right? Is that what she's going to be for the rest of her life? And so I think any reasonable person would think that, well, there must be a connection there. If not direct, at least indirect. At least one kind of led to the dominoes falling that ended up with her killing herself. But 15 months of separation? Should we even be connecting these two things at all? And then after she dies, her husband goes through her phone, finds some old texts, and they had to be old. They had to be at least a year and a half old, of him saying inappropriate things, and they are inappropriate. But that does kind of change the math. Now, here's another weird part that I just learned last night in the interview with Joe Pags. This is Congressman Tony Gonzalez, who's in a runoff with Brandon Herrera on May 26th. Is the husband gay?
It is pages upon pages, but I will share just this one thing. One of the things that was relayed was, what was Ms. Santos's last words? And they try to make it all dramatic. In the police report, this is specifically from the police report, the female subject with burn injuries then stated her husband is gay and having an affair with her best friend. I wonder if that had something to do with her tragic passing.
I have no idea what to think now. What the heck? That is sloppy. That is a level of mess where I thought this was an ugly story. It just got worse. So now what we have a lady who is having an affair with the congressman while she was on his staff. Her husband's back home having an affair with a dude, I guess. And then 15 months later, she burns herself alive. This is just a terrible tragedy all the way around. And it was an ugly story. And I didn't think after hearing the Joe Pags interview, I would think it's worse. Now I think it's worse. I like the other version where it was just an affair and some woman killed herself and yeah, it was a little sloppy, but now you got to question what's with all the reporting that seems to put these two things together, the affair together with the woman's death. Well, it's a compelling story. It's a more interesting story than she did it for some other reason or it's not connected. But I don't know. Is it more interesting? I kind of want to interview the. Can someone get the widower on the phone, the husband on the phone? So I would like to ask him. You gay? It comes up every once in a while. It does. What, Carlos Tercios? He had to go ask the mayor of Arlington if he was gay for the viral video that showed up with the Jim Ross at Essence Fest. I don't think we ever got a clear answer on that. But yeah, so a story that was already messy just got a lot messier. Does this affect your support for him? I mean, no one's in his district. His district's down there in the Rio Grande, just kind of south of San Antonio, which is why it makes sense he was talking to Joe Pags. Joe Pags, our evening show, is based out of San Antonio. But I don't even know what to think about this anymore. I mean, generally speaking, if I was in his district, I think I would vote against him just because this level of sloppy is not good for business. And the subordinate thing really does bother you, and it should. But I don't know. I don't know if I make any connection between her self-immolation and the affair with Tony Gonzalez. Maybe it was just a thing between her and her husband, and this guy's getting unfairly roped in. But that's what you get for having an affair with someone on your staff. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Boy, we're already off to a weird start. Coming up next, Trump says he's going to make an endorsement in the Texas Senate race. Doesn't say who, but it comes with a demand. You'll hear it next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So Trump is going to make an endorsement in the Texas Senate race. I don't know who yet. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I'm not sure if he knows. Because this is, why are we being cryptic here? He has to know. He has to know who he would prefer in this situation. The only thing that makes sense is right now he's talking to both of them. He's like, listen, I'll give you the endorsement, but in exchange, I want something. I mean, it's going to be something along the lines of fealty, but is that what's going on? Because here's the report. Donald Trump on his Texas Senate endorsement, WFAA.
President Trump is promising a big decision in a Texas race. He says an endorsement is coming after holding out for the primary.
He doesn't want to see a runoff on the Republican side of the race for Senate here in Texas. Our Natalie Haddad is with us at the desk this morning following these developments. And Natalie, do we have any insight, any clues to who he may be supporting?
You know, we don't know who he's supporting just yet, but we do know what he wants the other person to do by the time he does make that endorsement. So we'll just have to see there. President Trump made that announcement in a Truth Social post that he wrote in part, you're saying in part rather, we have an easy to beat radical left opponent and we have to totally focus on putting him away quickly and decisively. He goes on to say, I will be making my endorsement soon and will be asking the candidate that I don't endorse to immediately drop out of the race. Is that fair? We must win in November. Well, incumbent Senator John Cornyn and Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton have both spent years aligning themselves with President Trump, and both are certainly eager for his endorsement. So far, Trump has stayed out of the race. Back in February, he said that he likes all the Republican candidates. But again, Trump now saying the candidate who doesn't get his endorsement should drop out.
All right, you want me to make this even more sloppy? Because there's some great theories that are being tossed around the rumor mill on social media. And if you're Ken Paxton and Donald Trump calls you and says, hey, I'm going to endorse John Cornyn and I want you to drop out afterwards. If you're Ken Paxton, why don't you say, no, you got to give me something. I'm not dropping out. Are you kidding? I'm the one in the lead. I might win anyway, and then that would make you look bad. So give me something and I'll drop out. What about Ken Paxton as your new, not Texas Attorney General, U.S. Attorney General? Ooh. But James, Pam Bondi's already the Attorney General. Exactly. Replace Pam Bondi. And it won't be an ugly thing. It won't be like, oh, she's done terrible. It's be like, look, she gave us a good year or so. We're very happy with the work she gave us. We're going to move in a different direction going forward. But thank you very much, Pam Bondi, for your service to our country. We think it's time for the Ken Paxton era. So then both guys get to retain a position of power. Donald Trump now has, allies. He now has something to hold over their head. But if you're Donald Trump, why would you go with Cornyn? Cornyn stabbed him in the back on so many things. Cornyn made fun of the border wall. Cornyn was okay with impeachment after January 6th. He signed on to terrible gun control legislation. So the advantage of this politically, and when I say politically, I mean like the politics of being in power, not the politics of governing the country, is now if you're Donald Trump, you can extract something out of this situation. And if you're Ken Paxton, you can extract something out of this situation. If you're John Cornyn, you got nothing. So John Cornyn is now the pawn, because John Cornyn can't turn around and say, well, if you endorse Ken Paxton, I'm going to stay in the race and I might win anyway. No, he's the one that's behind. He's the one where if Ken Paxton got the endorsement of Trump, that would almost guarantee Ken Paxton's going to win. So John Cornyn doesn't have a hand to play, which means John Cornyn could have to take whatever deal Donald Trump gives him right here. What that deal is, I don't know, but it's being worked out behind the scenes right now. Because I guarantee you, if Donald Trump already knew who he wanted to endorse and he had all this worked out, he wouldn't be waiting. But negotiations are being had right now. It's ugly, but this is how the sausage is made. This is what politics looks like. You can't get rid of this. You can't get rid of horse trading when it comes to someone being a power broker over political office. The lesson here is if these are the people that are going to be in charge, and this is how the people that are going to be in charge are chosen, then this government shouldn't be in charge of all the things outside of the Constitution that it's doing. Remember, whenever you say we want public schools, these are the people that are going to lead it. Whenever you say we want universal health care, these are the people that are going to lead it. Not the best, not the brightest, not the most accomplished, not the most successful. The best political horse traders are going to be the ones in charge. Fred Sherman, you're on WBAP.
Ken Paxton's a snake.
Why you say that?
Snake in the grass. Listen, the fellow was detained at the Collin County Courthouse 2 years ago for taking a fellow's pen out of the screening bowl.
I don't know what that means.
He's an adulterous scallywag.
A lot of them are adulterers.
Yeah,
Donald Trump's an adulterer. Does that disqualify him?
Listen, in office, he's not an adulterous scoundrel in office, James. You know that. Come on now.
What's the
Don't stress
okay?
like that.
So that's the caveat there. Adultery's okay
Don't
as long as they're
stress
not in
like that.
office.
Well, I mean, yeah, I would say so. Maybe a man can change, no? But this dude's doing this in office.
So that's the
He
deciding
has
factor.
zero-
Is he had an affair
Has
in
zero
office?
integrity. Zero integrity. Cornyn, bless his heart, him and Lindsey Graham need to be drinking Mai Tais on the golf course somewhere. I mean, I agree, but Ken Paxton's a snake, bro. You know that. Come on, man.
But
You're
Fred,
better than that, James.
Fred, you haven't said anything like on policy. You know, I've always been under the impression that a terrible husband, a terrible father, a terrible
Policy?
human being that
What
follows.
policy has he proven? What has he proven? How many of these lawsuits has he been successful on? That's all you hear is Ken Paxton suing somebody. You never hear the flip side of that on the reward that came from it. Zero.
He didn't
Well, what's
win a
gonna be the
settlement against
benefit?
Google.
What's going to be the benefit of Ken Paxton being in the Senate? What is your take on it?
Maybe he will have a better voting pattern than John Cornyn. Maybe when the wall comes up or border security comes up, he'll take the better position than John Cornyn took. Maybe he won't sign on to gun control bills because
But we're a year and a half in, bro, and we ain't put a stick of wall up yet.
Oh no,
Hold up.
I agree with that. But in the past, John Cornyn voted against the wall. He spoke out against the wall. He called it a bad idea. Maybe Ken Paxton will be better than that.
Hey, I love you. Let me plant one seed for a later segment.
Sure.
What happened to Moderno? Do you have any information on him? Is he still around?
Who?
Is he in New York?
Oh, Maduro?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know where Maduro is. That's a great question, Fred.
Been a minute since you followed up on him. Love you, bro. Great show.
All right. Look, what Fred says, I hear a lot, and I struggle with this as well. You have to separate the human being from the policies, because in many of what Fred just pointed out, look, these are human foibles, and I wouldn't get Ken Paxton to host a dinner party or babysit my kids. I got it. He wouldn't be my marriage counselor. I got it. But is he going to vote in a way when he gets to the Senate that is better for the people of Texas and the United States? Is he going to be following the Constitution closer than John Cornyn would? And it's kind of gross that we have to settle like this, but that's the way it goes. Ben Franklin wouldn't pass Fred's smell test. You understand that? Ben Franklin slept with working women, women of the night, hookers. He got one pregnant. She had a baby, William. He paid her to go away. Then he married an ugly lady to help him raise the kid. And so he would have someone to sort of look after his domestic affairs. And then he continued to cheat on her for the rest of his life. Came back and gave her VD that he picked up in England. Terrible human being. Good thing we didn't jettison him for his sexual shortcomings or his moral shortcomings. Would we have the Constitution we have today? Would the country have even lasted 250 years if we didn't lean on his wisdom and we judged him by what he did with his undercarriage? These are all complex questions without easy answers. Coming up next, updates on the City Hall vote. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. We have a very disappointing update on the Austin terror attack. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. You're home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Three funny guys that are coming on right after I get done here in about an hour and 10 minutes. But it was very disappointing, the initial round of reporting that happened after the Austin terror attack this weekend. Now, Saturday morning, you and I woke up, and it was bombs. Bombs were flying in Iran. Wow, it's crazy. Look at this. Just turn on TV. There's bombs everywhere. Within one day, there's a guy wearing a Property of Allah sweatshirt with an Iran shirt under it, a big flag on it. He goes to Buford's in the west side of 6th Street, shoots the place up, kills a few people, wounds about a dozen more. Cops take him out. In his car, he has a Quran. They go to his house. There's Iranian flags and pictures of Iranian leaders, multiple, spread around the room. So all kinds of evidence that this guy's probably motivated by what's going on in Iran. Now, he himself is not Iranian. His connection is just from the Muslim world in general, is what it looks like. And so it kind of broke your heart to hear the report come from some affiliates, from some media outlets that left out all that left out the flags, the Iranian flags, the Iranian leaders, that left out the fact they had a Quran in his car, that he was wearing a Property of Allah sweatshirt and Iran shirt under it. They didn't say the word Muslim or Islam. In fact, let me play you the report, the initial report, before I play you the updated report. This is how it was given to you by the local TV affiliate.
First, confusion. Then panic. Within seconds, police taking down the suspect. In the hours since, a massive investigation into motive, an attack the FBI calls possible terrorism.
Any declarations on what led to that motive would be premature.
The FBI now interviewing friends, acquaintances, anyone who knew the alleged shooter, 53-year-old Injaga Jagnay. A criminologist says the FBI is looking for proof, maybe in writing or in a video or from someone who spoke with Jagnay, exactly what his mindset was, before they say with certainty what his motive was.
Teresa, what have you learned about the weapons involved?
Cynthia, the Austin police chief says the shooter used two guns. One was a pistol, the other a rifle. She also says the shooter legally purchased those weapons in San Antonio back in 2017.
You terrible pieces of trash. Oh, so you got all the details on the weapons. You know, look out. We got a problem with weapons. They were legally purchased. It was a rifle and a pistol. You didn't say the word Muslim. You didn't say Islam. You didn't say terror. Oh, actually, you did say terrorism. A possible maybe link connection to terrorism is what the police are claiming. Not Muslim terrorism or Islamic terrorism or a response to the Iranian bombings. And remember how quick they were to assess the motive when Charlie Kirk got shot, right, Jimmy Kimmel?
Right? We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them. And
I'm sorry, was he wearing a MAGA hat? Was he wearing a Trump shirt? Did he have a Bible in his car, or did he have Project 2025 printed out in his passenger seat? Did he have a bunch of MAGA flags in his room? You know, there's no evidence that he was MAGA other than the fact he's from a decent family. He's not visibly repulsive, and he got good grades. Right? That's all you need. Oh, it must have been one of yours. But now, okay, let's calm down. It's been a few days. Yesterday there was another report. Now that they've had 4 days to digest what actually happened in the Austin terror attack, let's hear the new report.
Today, Austin police are expected to release body camera video from their response to the mass shooting over the weekend. 3 people died and more than a dozen others were hurt after police say a gunman opened fire outside of Buford's bar on the city's popular 6th Street.
Gunman.
Officers shot and killed the suspect there. Police and the FBI are now investigating for the motive, but they have pointed to, quote, possible terrorism.
Whoa, they have pointed to, quote. We even put it in quotes and we put possible in front of it. What else could it be? Seriously, did you think he's Catholic? You think he might be a Methodist with a grudge? He's wearing a Property of Allah shirt, and you called him a gunman. You could have called him an Islamic fundamentalist or a terrorist or a Muslim or any other description. But no, he was a gunman. He was a suspect. Let's use the neutral words and not use the word Muslim or Islam anywhere. Let's not admit to the flags. Let's not admit to the Quran. Let's not admit to the Iranian shirt. Let's not admit to the Allah shirt. Let's just talk about the guns. And he's a gunman. And even after 4 days, you punks are still lying to our face after our neighbors got murdered. Real classy move, guys. Real classy move. You'll cover for them when they're murdering us. When Texans are getting murdered by an outside ideology that wants us to be destroyed, you'll cover for them? What level of suicidal empathy is this? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, you're going to get some updates on the Iran war. If you can call it a war, it's just a one-sided beating right now. But you'll hear from Pete Hegseth and some media reaction next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. The news in Texas is sloppy. And between the Tony Gonzalez situation with the affair and the self-immolation and the exclusive interview you heard on Joe Pags here on WBAP last night, we moved from that to Donald Trump saying he's going to endorse Ken Paxton or John Cornyn, but he doesn't say which one yet, and he wants the other one to drop out. And then I was doing a follow-up on the terror attack that happened in Austin over the weekend. So, I mean, the Texas news is just wild. But as crazy as we think it is, it's worse over in Iran right now. We'll get to those updates after we talk to Derek in Flower Mound. You're on WBAP. Hey, Derek.
Hey, James. That clip you played, was that their initial reporting?
So I played one clip from Monday morning, and then I played one clip from this morning.
Okay, well, the first clips, we got to be careful with that, because if you think about it, in the last couple of years, how many times have they been looking for an angry MAGA man when that was the exact opposite of the truth?
Every time. Every time.
Every time, exactly. So when we hold them to account, we got to look at it both ways there. Now, after the initial reporting, yeah, we got to put their feet to the fire. But the first report, maybe the second, we got to cut them a little slack, or we have no moral high ground.
Oh, agreed. But that's why I played the Jimmy Kimmel clip where they will rush out and they'll say, well, definitely MAGA here, when it's not warranted. And they don't give us a few days to digest all the details and stuff. And so, yeah, maybe we do need to be better than that. But they definitely need to be better than what you just heard in the last segment.
Well, you can't take Kimmel for anything. He's just garbage.
Well, true. That's why I played you news reports from a news station on TV that's local here,
real
too.
News. Exactly, real news.
Well, I played the New York Post. Their coverage of the Austin terror attack that they put out on Monday morning actually included all that stuff.
New disturbing details are emerging about the murderous gunman who shot up a Texas bar in a possible act of terrorism that left 2 victims dead. From the disturbed killer's motive, possibly being linked to vengeance over the U.S. attack on Iran, to revelations about the gunman's criminal past. Here's everything we know so far about Austin mass shooter Ngiaga Gianni. The 53-year-old Senegalese national who could be seen during the rampage wearing a shirt that read...
So they go into all the details. They talk about the shirts, they talk about the Quran, they talk about the flags at home. Yeah, so if New York Post can get it right from 1,000 miles away, it makes no sense that the ABC affiliate in Austin can't get it right and they're a mile away.
Yeah, well... That's the problem. It's the people that go into news aren't much better than the people that go into politics.
No, and most of them are well-intended. They're just theater kids who are saying whatever they're supposed to say so they can be on TV. They're not evil. They're not even evil-minded or have bad intentions. It's just there is a working order of news reporting that they just assimilate into and don't question. And I don't know how to fix it. We don't have when you say hold their feet to the fire, I can't hold anybody's feet to the fire. I have a radio show. That's all I can do. All right, let's go to the Iran updates here. Pete Hegseth came out yesterday and was talking about how Iran is just getting absolutely ripped to shreds, and he's tired of hearing otherwise.
This is not a mission accomplished situation. This is simply a reality check. The combination of U.S. and Israeli intelligence and combat power will control Iran, and will control it soon. Sure, Iran will still be able to shoot some missiles and still be able to launch one-way attack drones at civilian targets, and their proxies will attempt to attack our embassies, bases, and soft targets. They are terrorists, after all, and they need to target civilians because they can't fight toe-to-toe. But we will find them, and we will kill them.
Love that. I also like this other part where he's bringing up the historic nature of some of these attacks. The first torpedo sinking since World War II.
In fact, last night, we sunk their prize ship, the Soleimani. Looks like POTUS got him twice. Their Navy, not a factor. Pick your adjective, it is no more. In fact, yesterday, in the Indian Ocean, and we'll play it on the screen there, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win.
I am also amused at the poor media outlets who are just, they've dedicated themselves where they can't say anything nice about anything in the Trump administration. Where if you're a disinterested third party, like I am not in favor of this intervention. I am sort of the Rand Paul, Tom Massey of talk radio. But these people are still terrorists, and it's still amazing to see what our military can do. And no, our leadership's not incompetent, and we're not losing, and we're not failing. And the reaction by the media, though, who is just dedicated anti-Trump, it's just clown time.
That is Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, along with Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Dan Kane, giving an up.
This is Mika Brzezinski from the morning show on M. Snow. Can you hear how she's just dripping with contempt? Because when I was rolling the audio off of this video, she looks like when your kid asks if they can have like the something to eat right before you go to bed, and you're like, dude, we just ate dinner like an hour ago. There's no way you could possibly be hungry. Just go to bed. You know, it's not like, oh, I disagree with what he said. It's a condescending, like, I am above, he is below, he is a child.
That is Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, along with Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Dan Kane, giving an update on the ongoing war with Iran. Honestly, Pete Hegseth with a rather childish litany of accomplishments about a very serious issue, war with Iran. Talking about how American forces would deliver death and destruction all day long to Iran. He got into some of the details, but again, a lot of rhetoric about death and destruction and power, and no real reasoning.
How is that childish? I have 4 children. Never do they brag about torpedoing a ship in the Indian Ocean. Never do they talk about, well, we've managed to intercept more than 100 Iranian missiles and drones. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about precision strikes, later guided munitions. They don't talk about follow-up or boots on the ground or diplomacy. That's not a childish conversation he's having. In fact, this is actually a grown-up conversation. Whatever. They're not going to say anything nice. I don't expect them to. But it's fun. It's fun to watch just how upset they are. Oh, just rolling their eyes like a 15-year-old girl. Dad, you're so stupid. Coming up next, former Brigadier General Blaine Holt on The James Show. We'll have an adult conversation about the progress in Iran. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, time to get some Iran updates. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. My next guest, returning to the James Show, former Brigadier General Blaine Holt, coming back on the James Show. And I want to start with a quote from the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, here, where he says, we're not really at war with Iran. I just want to get your response to this.
Which has two components, as you know, that we have articulated over and over. The president has. Okay, those are sovereign territories of the U.S. They have declared war on us. I don't believe in the semantics. We've talked about the language this morning. We're not at war right now. We're 4 days in to a very specific, clear mission, an Operation Epic Fury, which has two components, as you know, that we have articulated over and over. The president has, the Commander of the Joint Chiefs,
So, Blaine, are we at war? Yeah, it definitely feels like he's playing some sort of legal semantic game there. But we have a very warped, experience on what war has been in America since really World War II. And the fact that for most countries, when they're at war, buildings around them are blowing up. There are foreigners in uniforms walking the streets. We never really get to experience that. So for us, or for most of us that aren't actually in the military, war is just something that happens on the other side of the planet that we see on TV and doesn't really affect our daily lives. And I don't know. It just feels like we don't even know what war is anymore as Americans. We're so comfortable. So right now, Congress in to chewing up War Powers Act. What happens if they vote against this? Does the actions in Iran stop? So, Blaine Holt, when it comes to these War Powers Acts, it seems to be the party that's not in the White House always has the constitutional argument, like, well, geez, this isn't a declared war. Can we ever like solve that problem? Because that does sound wrong to everybody that's listening, that we haven't been in a declared war since World War II. We didn't have the declaration for Korea or Vietnam or any of the Middle East wars that we're doing right now. Do we need to fix that? Well, you spent some time over there in your brigadier general days in the Middle East. And the one interesting thing I'm hearing about people who've actually been over there is how different the Iranian people are compared to their neighbors. It seems like they could easily just flip to being part of Western civilization, where you don't get the same from like a Turkmenistan or a Afghanistan or Kyrgyzstan or any of the other stands, you know? So did you witness that firsthand, how different the Persians are? So I saw on, just real quick, because we only have 30 seconds left. In Turkmenistan, they're only allowed to have white cars. Did you see that? Is that true? Have you been there? Right. I just saw pictures online. I'm like, that can't be true. They can't have outlawed all other cars except for white ones. But hey, thanks for sharing your experience after being over there and being a part of NATO and all that. Brigadier General Blaine Holt, appreciate it, sir. All right, coming up next on the James Show, updates on the Dallas City Hall demolition scandal. They're just moving forward with it, and it makes no sense. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So the Dallas City Hall scam still happening. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And this, if you're just joining the conversation about Dallas City Hall, it seems like a few months ago, all of a sudden there was this move to where, wow, we've got to find a new Dallas City Hall. What? Where's this coming from? Well, we need to make a whole lot of repairs on it. It might just be easier if we moved and knocked this whole thing down and sold it to somebody else. What are you talking about? Where's this coming from? This just came out of nowhere. So they're like, all right, well, look, we're not going to knock it down, but we are going to study knocking it down. Why would we study knocking it down? Okay, we're going to study knocking it down versus how much it would cost to repair this thing. Well, we just did a report, and it came out in 2020 that we needed $39 million of repairs. Why do we need another report 5 years later? Did we finish all those repairs? So they commissioned a report. And I told you back in November when this thing was commissioned, there's a 100% chance that the report's going to come back and say, oh, it's even worse than we thought. We have no choice but to tear this thing down, sell it to somebody else, and build a new city hall. What sense does that? That doesn't make any sense, just on its face. Like if your house needed a lot of repairs, would it be cheaper to build a new house and tear down your previous one? Or even if you had to build a new one, why would you tear down the previous one? Wouldn't you just sell the existing entity as it is? So a lot of people have their suspicions of it. It sounds like someone already made a deal and they want that spot downtown for the stadium. And I'm not saying this is the Mavericks. This could be the developers. This could be the contractors. This could be the construction people, the contractors that get to build the new stadium on the old City Hall footprint. It could be some of the big real estate stakeholders downtown that know if the Mavericks and the Stars both leave the American Airlines Center, then that is going to hurt the property values and the rental values of all the office space in these big towers around it. So I don't know really what's going on behind the curtain, but the official story makes zero sense. And it's made some interesting bedfellows. Dallas and Fuego, who I believe is going to be on the afternoon version of the James Show, he teamed up to make a video with Dallas City Councilman Adam Basildua. Now, they are politically speaking on the opposite ends of the spectrum, and they both agree something weird's going on here. And this is something I've experienced. I've been getting some of my best research and best tips and info from groups that are decidedly Team Blue. So in an issue like this, where someone like myself and a Team Blue activist in downtown Dallas are singing from the same sheet of music, you have Dallas and Fuego, Adam Basildua, singing from the same sheet of music. Come on, y'all. We all need to wake up. They are going to ruin and just waste about $2 billion of your dollars. Now, $1 billion is what they say it's going to need to repair City Hall. Nobody believes that. But they're going to tear the whole thing down. They're going to give that land probably for a sports stadium, and then they're going to spend another billion of your dollars building a new stadium there. It's one of the dumbest, most corrupt, most dishonest moves in Dallas city history, and that's a bold statement. Here's the video from Dallas and Fuego and Adam Basildua.
It looks like Dallas City leadership has already decided to sell and demolish the iconic City Hall building. And sharing this outrage with me is none other than the fry cook himself, Dallas District 7 Councilman Adam Basildua.
Still think you're a loser, though. But desperate times call for desperate measures.
First, some background or context.
The Dallas Mavericks lease at the American Airlines Center is up in 2031, and they want a new home. And Dallas can't afford to lose another pro sports team. But if they move from downtown Dallas, it'll hurt the pocketbooks of wealthy stakeholders. So they held secret backroom talks with the city manager, who then placed the issue on the council agenda, which felt like it came out of left field.
Why now? Why are we holding 3 separate committee meetings in just 2 weeks and then voting the very next week on such a monumental decision?
Even the council members were taken aback, but they didn't have the full picture.
The city then commissioned an assessment that claimed it would take more than $1 billion to repair City Hall.
$1 billion. So scary, they have no choice. Either pay $1 billion or sell the property and move someplace else.
I smell. This deal stinks to high heaven. First, Most of the companies who produced the report stand to benefit substantially from a sale of City Hall.
And the city council refused to pump the brakes to get a second opinion. They're preparing to offer the Mavs something that will only benefit rich downtown developers. And they're rolling the dice that the Mavs will accept it.
And if they don't, they will leave downtown for a competing city. And Dallas will be out another pro sports team and be screwed with hundreds of millions of dollars of debt just to relocate City Hall.
Should the public be able to vote on a decision of this magnitude?
Yes. In fact, parts of City Hall Plaza are on parkland and per state law require voter approval for it to be sold. Trust me, I wouldn't be wasting my time on this guy if it wasn't important.
Well, I like the idea that we should be able to vote on it. But then again, this is such a dumb idea. We shouldn't even leave it up to the voters. Like, the city council is supposed to be the voice of reason. And we're not supposed to turn everything over to the people. That's why we have elected representatives. It's the whole reason we have a council. This is a terrible idea. I don't like making people vote on it, because what if they vote yes? Still a terrible idea. But here's how it's being reported. WFAA was talking about this marathon meeting they had yesterday that lasted from like 9 in the morning until 1 a.m. overnight.
Dallas leaders have made a decision that could eventually impact the future of the aging Dallas City Hall.
It happened in a special meeting that lasted over 16 hours.
Yeah.
We've got Chris Sadeghi out at the building at the center of all of this. And Chris, what did the council ultimately decide early this morning?
Well, Dia, it was a long day and morning, 16 hours in a meeting where we expected them to vote on the future of City Hall. Ultimately, they did vote, but still not a definitive decision. Instead, they voted 9-6 to approve the recommendation from the Financial Committee to explore other places where City Hall could move. Now, this meeting started at 9 in the morning, did not end until 1:30 this morning. Now, during that time, lots of discussion about the finances involved with staying and going and possible development possibilities should City Hall be knocked down. Of course, the big number is $1 billion. That's how much it would take for the maintenance and repair to stay in this building, according to a recent report. Councilman William Roth says a number that big needs more time to think about.
We've got to do this right. We're talking about $1 billion. That's ridiculous. You don't make decisions on anything that's $1 billion with 2 weeks, 3 weeks notice.
So with that, we're still not sure exactly when the ultimate vote on City Hall's future will be. For now, they did vote to at least look at the possibility of how green other pastures may be.
All right, Team Red, Team Blue. You both say that you are against government taking money from the little guy and giving it to their rich friends. Everyone in Dallas should be against this, unless you're the guy that's going to get the contract to build the new stadium or tear down the old City Hall. Everyone in Dallas should be against this. You know, I really bristle at this whole idea that, well, we've got to revitalize downtown. Why? What's the advantage to the rest of us? Why not let Mavericks go use that completely wasted 100-acre space where Valley View Mall used to be? That's a great location for a sports stadium. Are you kidding me? You know what else is another good location for a sports stadium? Oh, I don't know. American Airlines Center. There's nothing wrong with this building that I'm at right now. They didn't build this building for 30 years. Ross Perot Jr. said this was built for 50 years. And they're just ducking out of it now when the building's lifespan has at least 20 years left on it. And I would argue that according to other concerns from City Hall, building's lifespan should be infinity. Oh, it's a historic building. We can't tear that down. In fact, we're going to spend millions of dollars to refurbish it. How come the Cotton Bowl can last for 100 years, but this stadium can only last for 20? How come the Cotton Bowl can last for 100 years, but Dallas City Hall can only last for 47 before it's obsolete? We just slapped $120 million worth of Mary Kay products on the Cotton Bowl. We do that like every 5 years. We can refurbish that one all day, every day till the dogs come home. But City Hall, we got to tear it down. They are lying to your face. And I can't pretend to not know they're lying to my face. I can't just say, well, they say it's going to cost $1 billion. Can't do it. The question is, are we going to stop it? Are they still able to pull this over on the taxpayers of Dallas and just lie to your face while making their friends millions and millions of dollars for something that's an absolute unnecessary expense? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, a couple funny viral video clips. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And they're coming up right now from 11 to 2, so in about 10 minutes or so. And they're going to have a whole lot of stories you won't hear anywhere else. We're talking about the scam about demolishing Dallas City Hall. And they seem to be moving forward with the plan here, even though all of the explanations for it do not add up. Something fishy is afoot here. Something scandalous is afoot here. And I'm just not falling for it. And I hope the people of Dallas don't fall for it either. Shane Weatherford, you're on WBAP. Hey, Shane.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Hey, I just wanted to say real quick, the whole issue with City Hall being a scam, there's a lot going on in Dallas with, you see these companies moving out, and you mentioned the sports teams. They're having, wanting talks about moving the teams out of Dallas. And I just think that people don't need to fall for the lies of we need new this and new that. You mentioned the American Airlines Center. That arena, I've been in it many times. I grew up a Stars fan. I'm for 25 years, and that arena is just fine. There's no reason to need to move out of that. There's just no reason whatsoever. And I just think that people need to wake up and see what they're doing, because Dallas is losing a lot of business.
Well, Dallas is losing some business, sure, but it doesn't make any sense, because any counterbalance you bring up to the arguments they're making, just blow it out of the water. Like, how is the American Airlines Center obsolete, but the Cotton Bowl isn't, right? How is City Hall obsolete, but the Cotton Bowl and all them buildings in Fair Park aren't? How is it this 47-year-old building, we got to tear it down, but if there's a theater a mile away from here that was designed by, what was his name, Frank Lloyd Wright or whatever, well, we can't ever tear that down. It's a treasure. So, yeah, none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. It's obviously a scam. They're obviously lying to your face about their intentions and what they're doing and why they're doing it. And we'll find out when it's too late what the real deal behind closed doors was. But we don't have to wait before we know that we're being duped. We know we're being duped.
Sure. I'll add this. I've been to other arenas in other cities. I've been to the old Staples Center. It's something else now. But their bathrooms, they only have like 4 or 5, spots to go to the bathroom in each bathroom. Yeah, stalls. It's nuts. And you go to American Airlines Center, and there's like 30 lined up. I mean, you got good things at American Airlines Center. It's not bad.
And it's mostly a problem with men. We have a problem with our affinity toward professional sports, and it causes us to make dumb decisions. Who says we even need professional sports in Dallas? Well, the Cowboys, they went from Irving to Arlington. Did Irving die after that? Did Arlington boom after that? Fort Worth has 0 professional sports teams. They seem to be doing pretty good. And my final question here, I just want to leave you with this thought as we're walking off. Thank you, Shane and Weatherford. Is it Pet Mart or is it Pet Smart?
Yo! I got a question. Is it Pet Smart or Pet Smart? Are you saying that pets are smart? Or are you saying you're a mart for pets? I need answers! Which one is it? And it can't be both!
I'm James Parker. I'll be back on from 2 to 5 this afternoon. Stick around. Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins is coming up next on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP.